So, would you believe me if I said that I really wanted to make a video on the Valorant lore? But Riot released the launch patch for Legends of Runeterra, which brought in BILGEWATER as a new playable region. And if you've been around when Legends of Runeterra launched, you know how excited I was that I was finally able to see the world that Riot was writing about. It is always cool to read about what is happening on Runeterra, but to see the world in the art of Legends of Runeterra is a whole another level. Now, the launch patch gives me content for 2 videos. First of all, there is BILGEWATER as the whole new region, and there is a lot to talk about there. But with the launch patch, there are also new cards in all the other regions. So now we have stuff like Quinn and the Rangers of Demacia, or even Lee Sin, who apparently has Acolytes of the Dragon. But perhaps we will talk about those in another video. So today, let's have a look at all the new things that became canon in BILGEWATER. You get it? Canon. Let's start with the most annoying champion in the entire game, which is Fizz. This art perfectly pictures what Fizz is in the lore. He is an ancient relative to Yordles, whose entire underwater home city was destroyed by a raid of sharks. But that's not the point here. As you can see, Fizz is just annoying. He isn't really evil, but he is way too playful. And that's why the description says, of all BILGEWATER's legendary figures, Fizz is the most mercurial. Some sailors curse him for the countless brutal wrecks lingering the coast, while others insist that he's just a playful child, who safeguards others on their journeys home. I mean, from reading the story we know that he is probably neither. He is literally just being annoying. But as you can see in his leveled up version, we finally get some more info on his shark. And here it is revealed that he's called LONGTOOTH. We still don't really know why does Fizz have a shark as a friend, even though ancient sharks are the beast that destroyed his home. One would say that he would be afraid of them. But hey, at least we know the shark has a name. Next up we have Misfortune. The description simply says, Misfortune? Out here you call me captain. Which of course is a reference to the fact that in her story, Misfortune became a captain. And so most refer to her as Captain Fortune. What's cool about this art is that what they are doing here actually makes sense. You see, when you are in the middle of the sea and your ship starts rocking, if it starts leaning one way, because the waves are too big, what the crew should do is that they should lean on the other side to balance it out. But while they are doing it, they should be tagging on one side of the sail. That way they can let the sail catch the wind in the other direction. And that's how they balance the boat. I know this is totally pointless and many of you will not understand what I just said, but I just find it cool that what they are doing in this shot actually makes sense. And then we have the leveled up version of Misfortune, which brings up something really cool. Yes, those things are powder monkeys. Which gives some context to Misfortune's voice lines.
Nothing but powder monkeys.
Now, it took me a while to realize what these things were, because they look demonic, but we have never really seen a shadowy demon in BILGEWATER. There are other demons like Tahm Kench, but these monkeys looked out of place. But we will get to them later. Also, there is this one on the pole in the background, but this one doesn't really look like a monkey. It looks more like a cat. So I wonder if Misfortune actually has a cat too. In some of the other art that Misfortune brought in, you can see some other cool details, such as the fact that her bullets have custom hearts carved in them. And there is also a closer shot of one of her guns. If you wanna make a cosplay, this is the canon version of Misfortune's pistols. But now we get to Twisted Fate, who quite a while ago, before Riot kickstarted the new form of the League universe, was my favorite lore character. Anyway, as you can see, he's practicing his card magic, which he learned from his traveling family on the Serpentine River. Other than that, there is nothing really interesting in this shot. And the leveled up version just gives us a closer shot of the cards. And in the background, here is where we get our first Vastaya. As you'll see, BILGEWATER is actually full of the Vastaya. If you are newer to the lore and you have no idea what I'm talking about, the Vastaya is a special ancient race on Runeterra. It is a combination of people and animals. And you can guess just about how this race came to be. Anyway, here we have our first Vastaya. The other Twisted Fate cards just show us his cards, with the description of the blue one referencing the river where Twisted Fate came from, the gold one referencing the fact that it is gold, and the red one has something for everyone, since, you know, AoE damage. But that takes us to Gangplank, arguably one of the most badass characters of BILGEWATER. Now, there are a couple of things to talk about. First of all, notice the crew in the background. Most of these characters will appear later. These are the crew of the DREDWAY, which is the name of Gangplank's ship, but we'll have a look at that later as well. 3 things to point out here. First of all, I never noticed that the shoulder armor that Gangplank has is supposed to be picturing the Kraken worm, which is a special kind of massive legendary sea serpent. We know that's it because of the number of eyes on the shoulder pad. With that said, if you look at the in-game model, that one only has 3 eyes. Maybe that's why I never really made the connection there. The Kraken worm has a lot more eyes than that. And no, it is not the Baron. The second thing to point out is that Gangplank is apparently not peeling his oranges. I have never ate an orange like this, but I'm pretty sure that's not healthy. And lastly, I don't know if this is just my eyes playing tricks on me, or if this is an actual mistake. But if you look at Gangplank's robotic arm, you know, because just in case you forgot, Gangplank actually lost his arm because of misfortune. If you look at the fingers, if this part is supposed to be his thumb, isn't it on the wrong side? That is his left hand, so the thumb should be on the inner side. Maybe this is not the thumb, but it really does look like it, doesn't it? But let's just keep going. And then we have the level up version. Here we see Gangplank surrounded by barrels of gunpowder. What's interesting here is that not only does the shoulder pad only have 3 eyes, just like the in-game model, but his thumb seems to be on the correct side. So maybe the previous art was really wrong. But other than that, the description mentions that Petty Officer, which is a character that will appear later on, did something awful to Gangplank. So just keep that in mind. There is also a closer shot of Gangplank's pistol, which again, if you wanna make cosplays, this is the art to use. But if you look at the coins, these seem to be silver serpents, which kind of confirms that there are many different currencies in Bilgewater. As you'll see in all the other art, there is probably 3 types of currencies here. The silver serpents, the golden serpents, and the golden krakens. All of these coins look differently, so it is very easy to distinguish them, and I will point them out as we go through them. Then there is this awesome art of the barrels, where the description reveals a Bilgewater saying, where there's a keg, there's a way. And if you look closely at the background, you can see Misfortune's ship. We know it's her because 1, it is called the Siren, and 2, the Siren is known because of this flag. Which takes us to Nautilus. By far the most badass art of this expansion. You see, up until now, it was never canonically confirmed that Nautilus is an actual Titan. His story is really cool, and I need to quickly summarize it because it will matter later on. Nautilus was a sailor who was really good at diving and finding treasures. That's why a lot of different captains hired him, just because he was that good at finding valuables. But there is a superstition in Bilgewater that says that before you sail out, no matter what you are doing, you always need to toss a coin into the waters to pay the tithe to the bearded lady, which is basically a made-up Bilgewater god. Now this tithe was just a superstition, until Nautilus' story happened. You see, on one of his missions, Nautilus sailed out with a captain who didn't pay the tithe. As they sailed out, the captain didn't toss a coin over the board. And it so happened that on their mission, as Nautilus dived down into the ocean, instead of treasures he found some oily goo in the waters. And that dark power consumed him, and it transformed him into this. And ever since that, Nautilus made the superstition real. Because now when people really don't toss a coin over the board, Nautilus makes sure to punish them. So now it is not a superstition anymore. And that's what the descriptions will talk about. It was an anchor that broke the Rancor, pulled Finn down and all. Just a handful of us left now, but night's coming. And the cold, I'm sorry Ma, you are right. The Titan lives. The Rancor is a sunken ship that will be referenced later again. And Captain Finn is the person who refused to pay the tithe. And then we get this amazing art, which simply says, all pay the tithe, one way or another. And I don't know about you, but to me, this made Nautilus so much cooler. I just wish he got updated in League, because there he's just a floating joke. Literally. But now we're getting into all the follower cards, starting with Crackshot Corsair. Yes, we got some powder monkeys again, but more importantly, yes, this is an actual Yordle. And as you'll see, there are quite a few Yordles in Bilgewater, just like they are in Noxus. So it seems like Yordles in general are far more common than we thought. I even tweeted at the writers about this because I wanted some confirmations. And yes, Glamour still works on them, just like it was working in the Heimerdinger cinematic. The way Glamour on Yordles work is that it only kicks in once Yordles would look unfavorable in the eyes of the beholder. But what's curious is that nobody really knows what other people see. Glamour works differently from person to person. To people who have no idea how the lore of League of Legends works, this probably sounds super confusing. So here's a quick summary. Because a lot of people in the world are afraid of Yordles, because they are these weird magical creatures that nobody understands, the Yordles use something called Glamour, and this is a special kind of magic that changes their appearance to appeal to those who look at them. So although we see a Yordle here, should a different person come in, they may see a normal human. And that's how Yordles work. It just so happens to be that this Yordle chose to be a pirate. And then we have the DREGGERS. These guys are super awesome. I do believe that they are not Yordles, but they are Vastaya, but just what they do is great. The description says, it takes a special sword to make complete garbage of perfect seaworthy gear. But if there's one thing they are good at, that's that. Just that. So these guys are like the sea raccoons. They swim around the seas and they pick up garbage, and then they build stuff from the garbage. That's why, as you can see here, they built a DIY boat, and the main guy is fishing for even more garbage. I just feel like I have seen these guys somewhere before. Then there is Jagged Butcher. There's not much to mention here. Yes, this guy looks really awesome. And the reason why he's called the Butcher is because his job is probably to carve up sea monsters. And the reason why he is Jagged is because Jagged is a name for the entire crew. There will be more people like him, so we will get to that later. Then there is Jailbreak, a card that shows us a Noxian prisoner. The description is a conversation between Bass and Gav, two aspiring bounty hunters. What you think, Bass? He don't look so tough. Yeah, sure, Gav, he broke out of prison. Means he's willy, not tough, come on. We will get more of these guys later on. And then we get this guy. You see, you should remember that everything in Legends of Runeterra is canon. Apparently, including the PORO on the Shadow Isles. So I am not surprised by this guy. The description says, his picture's been on the bounty board longer than most, for he's a greedy, ruthless devil that won't let anyone or anything stand in his way. Worst of all, he's cute, damn it. The words of Gangplank. Yeah, I have no explanation for this. Poros are weird and I don't understand them. Apparently some of them are motivated by greed, and I'm pretty sure it put itself on the bounty board. Then there is Pool Shark. I'm not sure if the Pool Shark is referring to the furry Vastaya here, because a shark could be a name for someone who is really good at something. But the description makes me think that the Pool Shark is actually the creature at bottom right. It says, it don't make no sense to me. I was knocking them in easy, but the last one just wouldn't go. Not my day, I suppose. And the reason why the last ball wouldn't go in, because the last ball was alive. So maybe that's the Pool Shark. Also, we can see TF in the background, who apparently is worth 10 million, but we don't know of what. Silver serpents, golden krakens? There is a real currency issue in Bilgewater. Then there is Prowling Cutthroat. It's really not as interesting as you think. It's a cutthroat, and there's a target. And then there is Shell Shocker, which is just a group of Vastaya again. The description says, my greatest strength is probable my command of the common people, and also apparently my spelling is really good too. A note scribbled in sand. Yeah, what? Why? What is happening here? And then we have Black Market Merchant. This character is super cool because it reveals a lot of new items from the game being canon in the world. Specifically, we have Amplifying Tome, Locket of the Iron Solari, Fetish Codex, Health Potion, Hunter's Potion, Nomad's Medallion, Duskblade, Bilgewater Cutlass, and Void Staff. There is also an Ionian Mask, which appeared in one of the Ionian cards, and what seems to be Shaco's mask. So I wonder if Riot already has some plans for Shaco's story, because right now, he pretty much has none. And then we have Coral Creatures. These are probably more related to the Vastaya rather than Yordles, but these guys are still very interesting. The description refers to something called the Azure Way, which is a place full of wonders at the bottom of the ocean, and it will be brought up again by another card later on. Just notice that these magical bubbles these guys are picking up are the exact same bubbles that the guys before were shooting from their cannons. Then there is DREDWAY Deckhand. DREDWAY, again, is Gangplank's ship, so we know who this person is allied with. I thought that this person appeared in Gangplank's art at the very beginning, but the hair looks a bit different. Either way, you can always tell that these are Gangplank's barrels, because they have the DREDWAY logo on them. Next there is Hired Gun. Nothing super interesting about this person, but if you look at the background, you can find some familiar faces. There is the Noxian Minotaur Gladiator for some reason, we have a Pirate Poro on the ground, and there is even Pike right behind her. But that's pretty much it. Then there is Bubble Bear. Lively currents of magic weave through Serpendile's reefs, nourishing the sea's extraordinary inhabitants. So this creature is basically the amalgamation of magic in the ocean. You can see that the Bubble Bear is feeding from the magical bubbles. And since the description mentions that these creatures feed off of the currents of magic, I'm pretty sure that confirms that these bubbles are actually bubbles of magic. So that's what the other creatures were toying with. And then there is Double Trouble, which bring up Baz and Gav, the aspiring bounty hunters, again. Oi Gav, ain't that the fella we're after? Looks like he found a friend. Is that a shark man, Baz? It's also a bunch more gold, mate. Come on. We don't know what happens to them after that. Then there is Golden Narwhal, a creature that has its own legend. Legends say a pale-horned whale once stole from the bearded lady. As a punishment, the lady covered the greedy creature in glittering gold, so it would forever tempt the avarice of others. It's really cool to see this kind of world building in Legends of Runeterra. Riot basically gave a legend to a random creature. You can also notice that the gold is actually luring in pirates, and you can see all the harpoons flying in from above. Again, the description mentions the bearded lady, which we do believe is just a made-up god. But since every legend has a little bit of truth in it, I should mention that the bearded lady probably comes from the kraken worms. These krakens look like they are bearded, and that is probably where this Bilgewater legend originates from. Then there is Jagged Taskmaster, which, as I told you, the Jagged is a title for this crew. It's all of these people with the greenish tattoos. And here it is revealed that these people are monster hunters. They are all specialized in hunting down giant monsters. And then there are JAULL hunters. Now this is probably a reference to Pike, because in case you don't remember Pike's story, Pike was a monster hunter who specialized at carving pieces from fish that were still alive. In other words, Pike dived down into the ocean and he hunted giant monsters face to face. He did this because some of the most valuable pieces of the monsters came from them when they were still alive. And by far the most valuable piece of monster came from the JAULLfish. The JAULLfish has a special kind of glowing sex hidden behind its teeth. But if this magical material is harvested after the fish is dead, it loses all of its value. So it has to be harvested while it is alive. And that's what happened to Pike. Pike dived into the mouth of a JAULLfish and he never came back up. That's why he's a bit insane. And I do believe that these JAULL hunters are named after the JAULLfish. These guys are probably doing exactly what Pike was doing. But next up we have Monkey Idol. And this is where the powder monkeys come from. This is a souvenir. The crew nabbed it from a crazy old rival of mine. Turns out the fool's ramblings about ancient mysterious powers weren't too far from the truth. The words of misfortune. So these powder monkeys come from this idol. It is a cursed object that Misfortune took from one of her rivals. And honestly, this is all I need to know. I'm just glad that these powder monkeys actually have a reason to exist. They are really cool and I wonder if Riot will do something with them in the future. It's a really cool concept. And we even get a closer shot of the monkeys, stealing one of Misfortune's bullets. Mischievous little scamps, aren't they? More help than they seem, but word is they got explosive tempers. Words of a siren deckhand. Again, the Siren is the name of Misfortune's ship. And then there is Petty Officer, which is the person who talked about Gangplank and how he did something awful to him. Yes, this is another Yordle, so although we see him as a furry creature, to others he may look like a normal human. And since the barrels don't have the DREDGER mark, it is obvious that this guy is not one of Gangplank's crew. What is interesting is that the bomb he is throwing seems to have the DREDGER logo on it. So I wonder if this guy just stole the bombs from Gangplank. Maybe that's the bad thing he was talking about. And then there is Slotbot. I am speechless. This kind of advanced machinery should only really be possible in Piltover. But I guess since people in Bilgewater are rich, maybe they can afford it. But notice that the bot is spewing out golden krakens, which again is a different kind of currency. The description says one prototype spun 3 bombs and then exploded. Later models had this early feature removed. I just don't know what's happening here. But since Bilgewater is just one giant gambling den, I guess it kind of makes sense. Then there is Brash Gambler, whom, if you look at the coins, is not paying with golden krakens, and instead is using the coins of the Serpent Isles. Because if you look closer, you can see the sea serpent with the blade, which is its mark. You can also see that this person is not only betting in all the gold, she's also betting Twisted Fate's head. And I wonder how does that work? I guess if she loses, she would have to bring in Twisted Fate's head. A strange kind of bet, to be honest. And then there is Island Navigator, which of course, if you have seen the Shadow Isle cinematic, or if you know Ilawi's lore, you know that this person comes from the Buhuru, which is a religious island that believes in Nagake Boros, which is an ancient ocean god. The description is a prayer to Nagake Boros. Lift the light from Mother Serpent. To the clouds up from the waves. The sky looks down with grey eyes earnest. a calm reflection of her gaze. She smiles, is at peace. What I think this prayer is saying is that if you lift up the light of Mother Serpent, which is probably the light she is holding here, a calm reflection of her gaze could be the sun, because if the sun is up in the sky, it feels like it is reflecting the light that you just lifted up. I think that's what the prayer is about. If you lift up this staff and you see the sun in the skies, there is no storm, and so obviously the sea gets calm. Then there is Mystifying Magician, who according to the description has an Italian accent. Also he is called Marvolio. Marvolio, where are my hands? I will now make them appear. Ta-da! Ta-da! Where are my hands? Okay, time to go. Thank you all so very much. I love this guy. And then we have the beast from below. This might be one of the Kraken worms. Not the bearded lady, which is the massive legendary Kraken worm, but I do believe that this is one of the creatures that Olaf killed. If you look at the tail, I think that this is what the Joll hunters were actually hunting. So it's not the Joll fish, but it is something far more deadly. Then there is Yordle Grifter, who is trying to bribe Miss Fortune. We know this is Miss Fortune because the clothing fits Captain Fortune, which is her modern lore clothing. And then there is Zap SPRAYFIN, who is referencing the Azure Way, which was mentioned with the previous creatures. Zap once completed the Azure Way circuit in just under 3 minutes. She even had to dodge the Jildaw's shattered hull near the end. The currents that day were awesome. And again, as you can see, she is playing with the magic that is coming up from the ocean floor. This person looks a little bit more similar to Fizz, but I still don't think this is one of Fizz's lost people. I do believe this is entirely different species. Although, since this person looks similar to Fizz, they might also be related to the Yordles. And then we have the Abyssal Eye. Aye aye, they cried and set off away, to see to trouble in fair Nashrame. But nature she turned and many did die, and the rest are off to the all-seeing eye. Since we even have Nashrame mentioned here, I think the all-seeing eye is actually a reference to the void. And looking at the design of these fish, they definitely look corrupted. So I wouldn't be surprised if these were oceanic void scouts. Just like Vel'Koz is the eye that scouts the surface, maybe these guys are scouting the ocean for the void. And then we have the hunting fleet. There's not much to mention here, these guys are hunting monsters, but if you look at the bottom, you can see the golden narwhal. So it now makes sense that these ships that you can see here are the ships above the narwhal. Again, this is some really cool tiny storytelling. And then there is a razor scale hunter. We know that there are some mermaid people in the oceans. After all, we have Nami, even though Nami is on the other side of Runeterra. She is near Targon, while these guys are near Bilgewater. The design is very interesting though, because unlike Nami, I don't think this guy is a mermaid. He has a serpent-like tail. So either the thing you can see at the bottom are legs, and therefore this guy is actually a lizard, or he's just a naga. You know, more of a snake person. But that's all we really know about this guy. And then we have Slippery Wave Rider, which again is one of those turtles that were playing with the bubbles. And that's all this is. There's literally nothing else I can say about this. It exists. And then we have my favorite pirate, the Citrus Courier. As you can see from the background, this person is a member of the DREDWAY. And you can even see him in Gangplank's art. All sailors think they so tough. Grr this, yar that. Yes, yes, very good. But you still need orange. Make skin pretty, make teeth stay, and make me happy. So you eat, or you swim. Easy. I adore this person. Just the fact that Gangplank kept this guy willingly on his ship tells us how good this guy is at keeping people healthy. And then there is the Devourer of the Depths. As you can see, there is a Joll hunter in front of it. What is super cool here is that there is a ballet of the winged ear sunken lady. I was sailing just the other way, out beyond Bilgewater Bay, when from the depths she came my way, the wing-eared sunken lady. And as you can see, this fish does have winged ears. So now that you think about it, the bearded lady suddenly makes sense. The bearded lady is named after the Kraken worm, because there the Kraken looked like it had a beard. And this is the wing-eared sunken lady, again because it is named after its own appearance. Which tells us that whenever something is a lady in Bilgewater, it is probably just a monster from the depths. And then there is Sheriff Lariette Rose. It is a totally random person. I don't think we have heard about her before. But first of all, I love the stallion that she's riding. This animal is super cool. But this shows us that there are still people in Bilgewater who try to enforce law. Now this is still mostly impossible, because Bilgewater is built on chaos, but it is cool to see that not everyone is going mad with power. And then there is the Shipwreck Hoarder. First of all, I love this beast. It looks absolutely amazing. But there is a bit of a story behind this. These days there is more treasure beneath the waves than above them, I wager. Would be easy enough pickings, if it weren't for her. The words of Jagged Butcher, which is the guy from the Monster Hunter crew. The cards connected to this are the KEELBREAKER, which is a legendary cannon used by the Jagged crew. Then there is the PLATEWYRM egg, which is one of the valuables this crew harvested. But then there is Treasure Trove. And I hope you remember Nautilus from the beginning of this video, because this is where it comes in. Captain Finn roared out, "You earned this, boys. Told ya the tithe was nothing but coward fee." Some cheered, but not all. The water seemed still, save for the bubbles around the Rancor's hull. Again, the Rancor is the ship, and Captain Finn is the person who refused to pay the tithe. And we know how that ended. And the last one of these is the fish that comes from the PLATEWYRM egg, the vicious PLATEWYRM. I don't have much to say about this, it is just a really cool creature. Then there is Smooth Soloist, which is a bard that is traveling between taverns and playing for people. Except, as you can see from the background, this person is also stealing from people. You can see the guy on the left just noticed that his pockets were picked, while the guys on the right are already fighting for being robbed. And then finally we have the Siren. We can see what the ship looks like, we can see the flag as well. But what is important is the crew. There is a guy that looks very similar to the Citrus Courier. So I wonder if Misfortune has her own citrus dealer. You can also see the Yordle that we saw at the very beginning. And there are two more people, both of which you can see in Misfortune's art. Then there is Mind Meld. This is an interesting card because all it mentions is the weird magic that is hidden underneath the ocean. We don't really know what this is, but this shows us that there's something really creepy happening in the ocean. Then there is Riptide Rex. And I mean, just look at this. We don't really know who this creature is allied with. I tried to compare this guy to the petty officer and they are not the same. So this Yordle is someone totally new. And I can't see Gangplank's mark nor Misfortune's mark anywhere. So as far as we know, this weird creation is just a neutral creature. I have to say though, this is canon. Quite literally. And the last card from Bilgewater is the DREDGERS. This is Gangplank's ship. And you can see him right there at the very front. And it looks absolutely amazing. The description even reveals that the DREDGERS has its own song. And I hope that Riot will use this at some point in one of their games. Because I can already imagine all the pirates singing about the DREDGERS. Also, those cannons could level cities. But that's gonna be it for Bilgewater. It's a longer video than I thought, but that's because there is a lot of cards in Bilgewater. As I said, there are other new cards in all the other regions as well. So if you guys want me to go back and look at all the new cards, I can totally do that. But you know, I still need to do the Valorant video. I've been working on it for 3 weeks now. I really wanna finish it. But hey, this is a League Lore channel after all. Maybe this should be the priority. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and Riot, fix the thumb. It is really awkward. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.